everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. Hope you all have an amazing day. We are here going over some games. I recently played a tournament. Now, this tournament wasn't one I was expecting to play, but I had an interesting time playing. It was my first ever open section tournament. Now, if you don't know anything about chess tournaments, especially in the UK, or England, I should say, they are separated into usually 3 categories, sometimes 4, sometimes even 5. But the categories are the foundation, if there is one, which is like under 1400s maybe. The minor, which it usually goes up to like 1600, 1650. You've got the major, which can go up to like 1900. And then the open, basically. Is that 4 or 5? I don't know. The open is for anyone, but it's usually where the top players hang out. Going all the way up to grandmasters, anyone can enter. You know, it's open. It's in the name. But yeah, I was requested to play in that to even out the numbers. I wasn't planning on playing in the tournament. So it was interesting for sure. I was going totally unprepared. So I had rock bottom expectations. I was expecting 0 out of 0. But it would be fun. Anyway, you know, I would have fun. I would learn some things. And it was a good weekend. I really enjoyed it. So we've got 5 games. I don't know if we'll go over all 5 because some of them were abysmal. But yeah, we'll see. The next few videos we'll be looking over this. So anyway, starting off round 1. I was paired against a 2000, very, very, very strong player. I've not seen him before, but some of my friends and people I went with have seen him. They said he's a very, very strong player. So it's a great start. It's a great start. Anyway, I was with the white pieces against a 2000. You can see there my rating is 1788. It's dropped a bit after this this tournament. So, hey, it is what it is. It's just imaginary points, right? We went with a King's Indian attack. They went d5. G6, going for this sort of fianchetto setup. Kind of annoying. I'm not a fan. Hopefully, it would maybe go into more of like a reverse King's Indian rather than a King's Indian attack. Because fianchetto sort of defensive structures are notoriously hard to attack. For various reasons. I don't quite understand it. I just know they're harder to attack. So already we've got a bit of a challenge. I stuck to my system and then we get e5. E5 is not something I want to see. But it's possible because it's been supported by this dark squared bishop. So my knight cannot take it. E5 is annoying against the King's Indian attack. And it's something I really need to do better at learning. Usually, they would play a sort of French system with e6 and d5, which makes life hard for this light squared bishop. The problem with e5 is that this light squared bishop can now come to bishop to g4, pinning my knight after I play e4 or whatever, which makes life a bit tougher for me. So already this should have set off warning sirens, warning bells, whatever, for me, and I should have changed my plan. I decided not to. I don't think we're making any particular errors right now. D3 is kind of necessary because you don't want to allow e4 from them. Because if they go e4 now, we would be getting the queen trade, which would benefit us. Because we can go knight g5 here and threaten the fork on the king and the rook, and threaten this pawn at the same time. So that's a good trade for us. They decided to reply with knight e7. And I showed this to my coach, and he said this was a scary move. And he obviously knew what he was doing, which you would expect from a 2000 rated player. I don't really know why this move is so good, to be honest. I think because knight f6, it provokes some counterattack from me, so it's a very safe move. It gives you the option to play f6 if necessary, which is actually what happened in the game. And here, like I said, I should be changing my plan. I should be going knight d2. I should probably be going c4 at some point. and sort of contesting the center that way rather than going all out on the king side, which I don't think is the end of the world, but definitely not particularly accurate. Here, I think the computer wants c4. It's saying e4 is still playable, but it's a decision to be made, right? It's a decision. Do you want to contest the center directly, or do you want to contest it on the flank? I don't know the difference. You know, these are things I struggle with. I think pawns are my biggest weakness at the minute, and have been for a long time, to be honest. I struggle to fully understand the effects it will have on the later position, and that will affect your whole plan and your whole game, basically. If you think, because you can't take pawn moves back, right? You can't take pawn moves back. So if you do a move and you fail to fully map out the repercussions of playing that pawn move, you're going to have a hard time. So there's a book I've been meaning to read that my coach recommended, all about pawn structures. So I am working on that. Hopefully we will improve. We decide to go e4 and stick with our strategy, knowing that we're going to have a tough game because e5's been played. This also potentially allows them to block up with d4, which isn't ideal for me because I don't have much room. And it will be hard to get something going and maneuver. I would probably have to play like an f4 at some point, which doesn't seem nice if I want to break through and push some of my pieces into attacks, which is unfortunate, which is compounded by this move rook e1. I don't think it's particularly good because we are threatening them to take with a threat on the pawn, because if they play a move, we take. They can try hold on to the pawn with queen takes, but then knight takes e5 is very nasty. Yes, they could potentially take and win the piece. However, I've discovered this nasty attack on their queen with my light squared bishop, so that would not be good for them. So with rook e1, we've actually just provoked them to push, which I didn't really want. So I'm not sure why I played rook e1. And this takes me back to, I should have played c4. I know I should have played c4. So next time I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get some practice with it. Anyway, d4. And here maybe I should have contested with like a c4 and tried to grab some space. Or the computer likes e4, rook f1 apparently. And with rook e1 as well, you're taking your rook off the f file if you ever want to push f4, which can't be a good thing. So it's doing nothing. It's doing absolutely nothing. I continue with this idea I have of the King's Indian attack, where I go for knight f1, knight h2, and potentially knight g4. But here we see the downfall of them playing e5 as well, because this bishop covers g4, so this knight can't ever fully reroute. With this pawn here on e3, I don't even have the option to go knight f1 to e3. So I'm stuck. I'm really stuck already, which is great. The computer says it's about even, slight advantage for black, but it's much, much easier for black to play here. They go c5. They might as well. Right, you know, there's nothing contesting this, so they're gaining space. They're going to put the knight on c6. Again, this bishop probably actually wants to stay on this diagonal. I'm not sure. So maybe just like bishop e6. It's just so nice for black here. I continue with this plan, which I know isn't going to work, but to be honest, I'm in too deep right now. I am in too deep. It would take very big changes to stop my play on the king side and go for the queen side. So I just, you go for it, you know, and at the end of the day you'll learn something at worst, right? So like I said, knight c6, c5, all natural moves for them. We continue with our plan, and here f6. Now f6 I haven't really seen that much at all, to be honest. I actually quite like it as a move for black. It's very interesting. There's a few points to it, I think. Firstly is you're defending this, right? You are temporarily blocking in your dark squared bishop. Secondly, you're preventing any knight g5s, bishop g5s, which are a big part of my plan, and I can see my attack very quickly fizzling out. Maybe you could argue that it's a bit of a hook for us to attack, but it's so well defended. Like if this knight moves somewhere as well, the queen's going to x-ray, and this bishop covers any g4 push for now as well. So I like that as a way of blunting our attack. It also potentially in the future invites, like if we do ever get an attack across, it invites them to protect their h-pawn very, very easily, which is probably where my attack, if it succeeds, is most likely to end up. So I actually really like f6 as a move for black. We continue, as you do. Bishop e6, like I said, very natural. You don't really want to move it away from this diagonal. But you also don't want it to be on the back rank, and you probably don't want it to be on d7 either, because that's sort of in the way a bit, and with it on c8 you're blocking your rooks from being connected. So it's a very natural square as e6. You've got so much room you're looking at, and you're stopping any of my checks with like queen b3 or anything as well. So it's just really tidy. Bishop d2. I think I was just sort of looking for a bit of space. I want to also play queen c1, which I think is what I did, and look for some sort of provocation on the king side if I can muster anything. Maybe h5, knight h4, maybe. But yeah, it's a move and it's connecting my rooks, so maybe we play c3. That seems risky though. Anyway, queen d7. Now I don't really know what queen d7 does. I guess you're adding more pressure onto like g4, or maybe h3. I don't think they would go h3 though. You're also connecting your rooks if you want to launch a queenside attack, which I think was the main idea behind it. And this is gonna hit me really, really quick, so I need to be careful. I go queen c1. I don't know why. I know you're aiming at h6, but looking back, this is very scary. The correct move was a3 here. a3. Yeah, sure. I'll take your word for it. I mean, maybe in the long run you're preventing some attacks and you can reroute to the queen side. I don't really understand that. But yeah, I can tell queen c1 was not great. Apparently a3, h5 apparently also a move, and if they push g5, then you go a3 again. Great. And you've just got this, but that looks awful because now you can't even go knight h4. Right, so I am stuck here. Anyway, queen c1, b5, very natural. I've got nothing contesting b5. I can't even stop b4 for that matter, so why not, expand on the queen side while you can. And here things start going south. We play bishop h6 because what else am I going to do? And I was really, really hoping for this. They'd do something. And then we play h5. And I don't hate this. I actually don't hate the computer does. Because of g5. g5's quite tidy. And then my queen's looking really ugly, actually. Okay, that's fair enough. That is really fair enough, actually. I don't know what I would do in that case then. Yeah, that queen's sort of misplaced, actually. That's crazy. So we go bishop h6, and obviously they're not going to take, even though I think they can. In fact, the computer says taking is the best move. And they play a5, and I'm a bit scared here. A bit. just a little bit. I'm terrified. And I've got two options. I can try slow them down with some queenside pawn push, or I can take and continue my attack. Thinking back, I should have just taken. And then done something. Maybe then you take the time. And you will see why. You will see why, because I decided to go straight for the a4. Now, I don't think a4 in itself is a bad move. But I played this very, very poorly. Obviously, they take. If they push, it gives me a chance to potentially lock things up, which I don't think is good for me. Like, it's not winning for me, but it slows down their attack, right? And gives me a chance to sort of reconsolidate my pieces a bit. So they decide to take, obviously, and then I should have just traded off here, I think, and got rid of, again, any chance to trade this off. I probably should have taken, because I decided to take back the pawn. And my thought here was I can go b3 and I'm actually quite safe. The problem is that the discovered threat on the rook. But the eagle-eyed viewers and the people who aren't bad at chess might see that here, bishop takes bishop just completely wins. Completely wins for black. The problem is you drag my queen away from the defense of the c-pawn. And here game is over. You're hitting my rook. Where does my rook go? Where does my rook go? If I tried to save the pawn, you actually just take, which is crazy. A really, really nice move. Apparently an inaccuracy, though. I don't see why, because queen takes a4 here just looks really, really nice. I don't know why that was apparently an inaccuracy. It just wants knight b4. For some reason. I guess this is still hanging, but here maybe like rook a3. Oh, but you're hitting the d pawn as well. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think mine's flashier. Maybe not as good, but flashier for sure. Yeah, I decided to go rook e2, which I think is an option for sure. The problem is after bishop takes b3, my rook's trapped. My rook on a4 is absolutely trapped. The bishop covers these three squares, and the knight covers these squares as well, which is absolutely insane. And here I'm just done. I am just done. I decide to go rook to a2 to try save face a bit. Bishop takes, and then we take the knight, threatening the c-pawn. They decide to go bishop b1, x-raying my pawn, which I'm struggling to defend. If I decide to go d2, you might as well just go home, right? Because how are you stopping the a-pawn? Your queen can't come in. You're tied down. It's nasty, right? Not a nice position to be in at all. So I decide to go for it and take the c-pawn. Maybe we can have a miracle. But past this point, it is just downhill very, very quickly. I decide to take the pawn with the knight for some reason. Try threaten like a knight g4. Taking the f-pawn with some miracle mate. I think here you can just take the rook and you're perfectly fine. Oh no, not take the rook. Yeah, you have to take the knight, right? You have to take the knight. I was considering rook takes pawn as well, which might be a bit more forcing. With the idea of knight g5. Seems annoying, but I think just knight f5. Or anything else will also just be fine. Just covering the h-pawn. Apparently that's drawing. Wow. Oh yeah, because you kick the queen out. That's the reason why. And then if the queen stays to defend, then you play bishop to e6. Which is really, really quite cool. They can't take the bishop because of that, which I don't think is necessarily... That's mating, apparently. It doesn't look mating. Oh, you take the queen with check. You can see it's been rough. It's been rough. But yeah, that's a fancy line. And that was the sort of thing I was hoping for, really. We decided to take with the knight, though. They took back. And then we went for knight f3, hoping for this knight g5 miracle along with bishop h3. It looks like it has some potential, but they just take, right? They just take. And then knight f5 is a really nice way of sacking back some material just to dull my attack. Because I no longer have bishop h3 options with the queen. I can try take. I'm still down 7 points of material. Rook a6, I guess, prevents f6 ideas with, again, bishop h3, which is quite nice. I drop the knight back, the rook comes up again. Bishop h3, hoping for, again, some miracle with f6. They just take, checks, the rooks block. And here, I thought maybe I can get a fork. But after rook c6, I try kick it out, and e4 is the end. So it was an interesting game. I don't think I got destroyed that badly. I missed this whole idea of taking the bishop first, because they can take ours. That was my big mistake. There were lots of small positional mistakes, but this is the game-ending mistake. And by the way, I can still take here and ignore this, because if they take my rook, I just go ahead and take their rook, which is fine. I don't think you even take with the king. That's probably bad. Actually, you probably have to take with the rook, and then maybe b3. And this would have been a lot more of a realistic game, rather than just getting destroyed. But queen a2 here is nasty, because you can't ever really kick me out. That's quite nice, actually. So maybe b3 isn't the move. Rook e2. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Then rook b8. Threatening some discovered, maybe. I don't really know. And then queen h6, and you go for a counterattack, apparently. Very, very interesting. So yeah, I just missed this. That simple as, really. I mean, I was probably not particularly good before that, but this was the nail in the coffin, really. But yeah, that was that. Round 1. Not a great start, but also not far off what I expected. So, yeah, there was 2 more games that day. I didn't get any points that day. I did not get any points that day. We'll go over a very interesting game I potentially should have won, but that's for another day. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Not tomorrow. I keep saying tomorrow. Another day. Later on. I don't know. Anyway, bye-bye.